What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue River Bow Hunting Podcast, episode 76, part 2 of our Spring Thunder series. First off, before we get started with the episode, I want to thank everybody that was at the Deer and Turkey Expo in Indianapolis this past weekend and stopped in and saw us, and Boston Brawheads from Exact Archery and told stories and that kind of stuff. I just want to thank everybody. It's cool to see everybody year after year at that show and making friends with other exhibitors and that kind of thing. But I just wanted to throw that out there before I got started. But Dylan Albright from Tennessee, had him on several episodes ago talking deer hunting in Tennessee. It's actually going to be my first stop turkey tour here coming up. So me and Dylan are excited to get to hunt together for the first time. But what's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
Good, man. It's got some crazy weather coming in, so I figured I'd get this knocked out, and the days, I'm just counting the days down until I get to leave this state and go chase some turkeys and meet people like you and meet my other buddies that I've done trips with for years. I'm ready to go turkey hunting. It's killing me.
I bet that expo didn't help.
No, it made it absolutely 1,000 times worse.
Was it a big turnout?
Yeah, I had very good turnout, especially Friday and Saturday were, jam-packed. You're talking hundreds of thousands of people that not only did they have the Deer and Turkey Expo to go to, it was like connected to the Boat Sport and Travel Show, so they get to see the boats and the RVs and all that kind of stuff. And I think even Saturday they gave like the first so many kids a free fishing pole. So there was a line 100 deep at the door when I pulled up to go inside and work.
Yeah, when I done the fall festival for Drake, it was like that. It was just so everybody was just trying to get in there as fast as they could to see all the new stuff they had. Yeah. So I bet the time goes by quick though when you're talking to that many people.
It does for sure. And then there's times during the show. It comes in waves basically, and you may have an hour at the end or maybe a little more where stuff's kind of died off, and you can kind of venture out a little bit and go talk to some other people working. A lot of people that we already know. We've worked it before, and I've been going to that show for that's the 26th annual. I bet I've went to at least 20 of them.
Wow.
And we got to see people from our hometown that have the Knightstown Meat Locker. A lot of people like stopping in there and getting smoked sausage and all that kind of stuff. And he actually gave us a roll of summer sausage while we were there. So we were in like Flynn while we were there because the ladies next to us have sell Cutco knives. So we got the summer sausage on the in the cutting board in the back, and we're cutting off whenever we want. And between the four of us, it went pretty quick.
I bet. Snacking good, though.
Oh, absolutely. Drinking some beers and talking with a lot of people. Not only were there people from Indiana there was a lot of people from Illinois, Michigan, Ohio. It seems that show just seems to get bigger and bigger each year. And it's drawing in some of the bigger names as far as exhibitors go. Osseo Camo, that's on one side of us, they've really blown up in the last couple of years. So you get to see meet and greet some pretty cool people. Yeah. Dustin Huff was just down from us. We got to see some really cool stuff. And then you had the Indiana Wall of Fame, all the record book bucks from Indiana for people that participate to bring their deer in. And there's some absolute giants.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. I know I've been to the NWTF, we go quite a bit, and it's gotten to where it's crazy packed too, like just shoulder to shoulder the entire time. And some new booths are popping up, man. I think I seen the retro camo. Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Cool. Just camo we grew up wearing that they're just buying and then turning around and making an outrageous profit on. But it was pretty cool to see all that cool camo popping back up.
I feel like that show has really, really blown up. Like, I feel like getting an Airbnb or a hotel in Nashville for that week or weekend is almost impossible.
You'd have to book it now.
Yeah, pretty much. And I want to go. So, and we actually talked about that to Victor while he was there. He said that he was going to try to get a big enough Airbnb for some people to come down and go down there and put the finisher out there. They do a real good job with promoting that down there. I'm sure it's a pretty big booth they got set up down there, but just these shows, man, I hear some people kind of say they don't really like going to them. I've heard that, and I've heard, it's the same stuff every year, yada, yada. But I have an absolute blast. Yeah, I'm not the one walking around buying stuff, but to sit there and promote a product and sell a product that I'm passionate about, and then talk to other people from my home state. It's just a lot of fun. I have a blast working those shows.
It may be somewhat similar each year, but the conversations are always different because each hunting season, everybody experiences different things or different hunts. So it's nice to catch up to those guys and see kind of if they're still thriving or if they're struggling, because we've all had those years.
Absolutely, and it's the second year of working the Exact Archery booth, so it's Exact Archery's second year there. What was really cool is you got people that came up last year, and a lot of people are on the fence about switching broadheads. Everybody's got their brand they like shooting and whatnot, but these people coming back, we want more, showing you pictures of stuff they killed, just product stories and stuff, and that was probably one of the coolest parts, being a part of the second year for them, and then them having a new 3-blade that came out. I mean, we almost sold out. We had like 5 boxes on Sunday left out of like 175 boxes of the 3-blade that he had brought. I mean, they were flying like hotcakes.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to order some after the fiasco with the velvet buck, that's for sure.
Oh, dude, you'll love these. This 3-blade, it's all one piece. It's super nice for sure.
Yeah, which I'm fixing to. I'm going to break down and get me a new compound for this upcoming season. So a little more freedom from being able, I'll be able to travel a little bit more. So we've got everything ready to roll. I'm going to pick me up pro. I don't know what bow I'll get, but I'm going to get me a bow and then chase some whitetail this year. I'll do the velvet hunt. I'll buy a bow just for the velvet hunt. Then I'll hunt the velvet and I'll hunt 1 or 2 times and I'll just sell it.
Right.
It's just too hot here, I've got 2 crossbows here, but I'm going back to a compound. So
I'm thinking about getting, people may laugh, I'm thinking about getting a crossbow just for turkey hunting.
Man,
I think it'd be a blast to just smash one with the crossbow at 20 yards.
I've got a buddy, Sean, in Kentucky, and he hunts with that Raven, and that's all he hunts with. And he travels a lot too, but he killed like 5 last year with that crossbow.
That's awesome.
None of them went further than like 15 yards.
Yeah.
So
it was just switching. There's a ton of things that I want to try out. It just can be hard sometimes. Just like I was talking about, it's hard to switch from broadheads. But I'd like to have a 12 gauge setup, a 20 gauge setup, a 410 setup, a crossbow, a compound. I want to chase these things with everything known to man.
Yeah, I think I switched. Well, I didn't really switch, but I bought the 410 Stevens last year. Mm-hmm. And I took my little girl hunting, and we smacked one at 25 yards, and he didn't move a muscle.
That's awesome.
And then we shot one. I shot one with the A5, and he flopped around like crazy. So it's kind of like, I think the 410, you kind of think, hey, this is a smaller caliber, smaller shell. I've really got to make it count. And I think I was more stable because it's so much lighter. And when it squeezed off, it was just, he was done. So it was cool to see a 410 do work like that.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I wanted to touch on, which I'll connect the dots. You'll see here in a second. But I'm a big comedy person. You got to go see Theo Vaughn not that long ago, man. Dude, I mean, the connection is, last year he got to kill his first bird with Michael Waddell. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, your first bird, your first time ever turkey hunting, and you're with the man, the myth, the legend. You know what I mean?
And he had Caleb Presley with him.
Yep.
And I watched that. I actually watched it just again. And I would love to have just seen all the bloopers they had to cut out from that or couldn't air.
Right.
Because Theo was a wild man.
For sure.
We see him every time he comes through town. And this year he was really firing. And dude, he was all cylinders, just rolling. He done like 75 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and he just all new stuff, but somehow it ties into everything he's ever said. So you can't really say, hey, that he's just making stuff up.
Right. If you had to pick a celebrity to have a turkey hunt with, it could be one of the mainstream hunting industry type guys, or a famous athlete, or something like that. Kind of the same question I ask you with the deer hunting in the Mount Rushmore. But who's somebody kind of like a dream scenario you get to go turkey hunting with? I
think it'd be cool to go with Joe Rogan.
That'd be cool.
Him and Steve Ranella went, and they pretty much just cracked up the entire time. But I think if you got Joe on like a real fired up bird or something like that, he'd really tune up to it. Because I know he's all about the elk, and it's kind of they call turkey hunting the poor man's elk hunting. So
I've never heard that. I don't think that's pretty funny though.
yeah, that's what I've heard anyway. So you don't have to pack them out, as much as an elk.
Yeah. I don't really know who my dream scenario would be. There's just so many people that you could think of right off the top of your head. I would probably go like a Dave Owens Panhoney project. I think that'd be really cool, and I would like to do it in a certain scenario. Like, I don't want to go to some outfitter. I don't want to go to his private piece in some badass state. I want to go. Let's hit some public where a bunch of people have been hitting it. Mm-hmm. I want to see this dude really work his magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and some people just have a way with calling that's just like, it just blows my mind. Like, I was watching Michael Waddell. They done the youth hunt, and they got on they called 4 birds in one day, and he's just like, he was doing different calls each time, different sequences. It was just wild to see, and I'm like, maybe if I slowed down a little bit and wasn't so gung-ho on the run and gun, I'd probably pull a little bit more in.
Yeah,
but what we're doing is working, so we're gonna stick with it. But I try to have the more patience.
Yeah.
Because how many times do you think that you've called and worked a bird and he's went quiet and you've waited 20 minutes, got up and left, and then maybe 10, 15 minutes later, he's right where you just were?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened to me a million times for sure, until I caught on to it. And if I'm really working a bird, and I mean really working him, he's answering you, things are going your way, and he's getting closer, and it's just taking time. I'll wait it out. I'll wait an hour. Even as a running gunner, I'll still wait it out because I've had that happen before. One of the worst times I can think of, I was working this bird forever, man. It was like, and there was 2 of them. I could tell that there was 2 different birds gobbling when I was calling, and I'm like, dude, this is going to happen, yada, yada. Half hour went by, and they kind of shut up a little bit, and I was like, I'm over it. I'm going to go chase some more birds. I heard some more birds gobbling. I'm going to go on the other side of this mountain and chase these other ones gobbling. As soon as I stood up, I saw I couldn't really see him because of the way this field dropped down. When I stood up, there was 2 tail fans, and they booked it. And which is crazy because those 2 birds went around the other side of the ridge, and my dad and grandpa were on that side of the ridge, and my dad ended up killing one, and it was a double beard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It could have been my first double beard ever, and it just happens. That's something that you got to learn from from experience, and move forward and try to figure it out next time.
Yeah, I try to always now, even with deer, I'm like, we'll reevaluate when we're leaving in 30 minutes. Like, we'll see in 30 minutes, and I'll just keep pushing it back because I had the same situation kind of happen when I first started hunting. Where I live, they just cut us loose, and I couldn't even drive. And me and my cousin, he wasn't a big turkey hunter, but we took off, and I had hit the call. This is when I was having to use box calls because I couldn't run a mouth call. But I hit the box call, and we had some gobble, and it was like 20, 30 minutes. And he was like, dude, they're not coming in. Let's just get up and leave. Same thing. The heel dropped off. They were strutting right on where the sun was hitting the ridge. And I was like, oh, man, I just tried to ease down, and then they hit me with the putt, and they turned around.
Yeah. That's the worst to hear when you hear that. You done really screwed up when you hear that. You're
like, so crazy because they'll bust you so fast that way. But then we've shot toms, we've doubled up, and then had 4 or 5 toms that had came in a big group stay. But it's like, okay, why don't that happen when I miss one? Like they get out of town.
Yeah, for sure. I asked you last time when you come on how you got involved in hunting and being in the outdoors in general, but how exactly or when exactly did you get started turkey hunting?
So turkey hunting, it was a lot different than the deer because my dad had just deer hunted. That's all he ever done. And my grandmother had bought me some just hunting DVDs out of the little case one time, and I was probably 4th grade, so I'd been deer hunting a little bit, and I threw in, I think it was a Night in Hell, one of those had like Eddie Salter, all those, just a montage of all these turkey hunts, and I would lay in there and just watch it, and I was like, man, I want to do this. First off, it's warm, you get to move more, and it seems like it's more enticing as far as hearing what's going on, and man, I worked and saved up, and I went and got decoys, and slate calls, and everything, and Dad was like, well, I've never turkey hunted. He's like, so I don't really know what we're going to go in here and do. And luckily we had good spots. So we hiked the hill, and man, I remember there was probably 6 or 7 gobblers fire off, and my first hunt, they didn't come in, and I think it was calling error because we didn't know, we was probably over calling and just trying too hard. And then the second morning, I guess where Dad had been deer hunting for so long, we kind of just went in. He had seen where they'd come down and where they were headed. So as they come around the bottom of the field, we ran to the top and just cut them off. And of course, the first bird I ever shot was a jake because that was the first one that popped up. But I was like already crawling across on my stomach and the Mossberg 500, and then that really lit it up for me. And he was like, okay, well, he took me for probably the next 2 years, and I killed a big double beard with him. And I honestly think he wasn't too good at calling, so he would barely call a little bit. And for some reason, man, I killed 5 or 6 birds with him.
That's
just because
awesome.
I think less was more. And then I finally hit the age where he was like, you go. He's like, I don't really enjoy the turkey hunt. It's too much running around. So he let me loose. And, man, he would drop me off. They would let me miss school to go. Like, we would watch weather. And I'd be like, look, it's perfect weather in the morning. It's been raining for 3 days. Let me go. And they'd be like, all right, well, you need to go to school after you hunt. And I had a teacher, John Fugit. He was wildlife management teacher. And, man, he was so awesome. Me and him would link up before school. We'd go shoot turkeys, and then we'd go, because I had his first period, and we'd shoot back into class. We'd clean them and everything. So it was just that. I think that was my first real taste of like actually doing something on my own as far as hunting and having that freedom. So turkey's probably, if it wasn't for watching my dog run, working ducks, I'd say turkey's hands down my favorite.
Yeah, that's hard. That's so hard because deer hunting and turkey hunting are so vastly different. And I think I've said this, and some people maybe listening to this that don't turkey hunt don't really understand it, but turkey hunt just like touches your soul in a whole nother like way than deer hunting does. When I think of deer hunting, I think those really, really, I wouldn't say really, really cold, but cold, crisp November morning. There's just like this smell in the air. It's the same thing for turkey hunting. It's warm. It's a spring. It's already 55, 60 degrees, and the sun's not even up yet. Sun's coming up, birds chirping, and then they just start hammering.
Yeah.
And then just doing it with your buddies or your family and creating those memories, running and gunning with people. I mean, that's just hard to. Oh shit! Are you still on there?
Yeah.
Oh man, it like kicked me off for a second. I don't know what happened. Well, I just said another cuss word on here, so I apologize. But my computer just almost kicked me off of here. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, you're absolutely right. There's mornings you walk out and you're like, oh man, this is turkey hunt weather. Like that cool. You kind of start off in a hoodie. You're kind of maybe shivering a little bit because you're going to be doing some walking. Then that first bird fires up, and that's it. It's over. That's all.
Oh yeah.
That's all you need.
Chills right up your spine really quick.
Especially like that moment where they're down and they answer, and you're like, he's coming. Like,
yeah.
Me and my buddy, we've hunted since like 2010 together every year, and we kill a turkey every year together. And man, we have a look like we can be completely quiet 15 yards apart, and it's just like he's coming.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we've got it down to a science now, and we've kind of really grown off of each other because like he wants to try some things I necessarily don't want to try, but he's always successful. I want to do some things that he don't necessarily like to do as far as like tactics or moving a little too, fast or something like that. But I'm always successful. So like when you get us together, something's dying. Like last year, man, we make it a point every year to hunt, and they obviously took our bird. It's dwindled from 4 a year to 3 a year to 2 a year. And last year, I called one in on an opening morning for my friend Ben. He shot, and then I took Maddie that afternoon, and I shot one. Right, so I'm one and done. The next morning we go, and I had a chance to kill. He was probably he come straight in, dude. It was beautiful. I had Ben with me, and he had like a 7-inch beard, like it was. Any other day I would have shot him, like been happy. But I was like, hey, man, I'm going to hold off. I was like, you can take him if you want to. And he was like, no, I'm just, let's just watch and see what happens. So then the next day, me and Justin kills one opening day as well. So now we're both sitting on just one bird. And I've got this really good farm. It butts into 600 acres that's not touched at all, and it's a big cattle farm. And he's like, man,
Mm.
let's go back in here, and like, all right, dude, like, let's go. I'll go. So we walk back to this spot, and we actually flood it for duck hunting, and then we drain it that way all the grass grows.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fence, railroad tracks, a fence, and a creek separating that farm from our farm. We sat there, we put dips in, chews. He barely hits. It's, dude, 700 yards away, barely hear it. No. I was like, I think that was a bird. He's like, I do too. So we like put our gloves on, and we're, and in my mind, there's actually no way these birds are coming that far and crossing everything they have to cross. So I'm sitting there, and then he hits the call, then two gobble. They're getting a little bit closer. And I'm like, all right. I was like, you start, and then I'll pick it up, you quiet, and we'll just, back and forth. We do that, and I look up about 600 yards out in the field. There comes one, there comes two, three, four, five big longbeards come strutting straight out. Because I was like, one, I was counting them off. And I was like, dude, this may happen. And he hits the call. All five of them blow up, and they just come. I hit the call. Then they all they come out of strut into like sleep, and they just haul ass right towards us. Well, the way the elevation is, you can't see, so I lose them. I'm like, man, I was like, I don't know where they went. But when I sat down, the A5 has the switch on the bottom. So my shell had came out. So, yeah, it was like just in there. And I was like, all right, buddy. And then we heard him drumming. We was like, all right. And then they just pop up 15 yards from us on the railroad tracks. But he had a little bush in front of him. And he was like, where are they? And I was like, buddy, they're the end of your gun. Like, they're there. He couldn't see now. I was like, man, if they come any closer, I'm going to have to shoot because they're going to bust us. So they end up coming off the railroad tracks. He finally sees it. He shot his at 9 yards.
Wow, was there anything left of the head?
No, well, a little bit, but the wad actually bounced off his head.
That's awesome.
And then when I pulled the trigger, they had made it like 10 yards because mine just clicked. So I just racked one shot that we doubled. Great morning, but we're done.
Yeah.
3 hunts in. Done for
That's frustrating too, you know what I mean? Because then you want to keep going, but you're tagged out. That's why I travel so much for turkeys. Yeah. Well, not only because I don't really have much close to me, but I love catching these birds in different sceneries. Like we've talked about before. I'll get to here in a minute. You were talking about timber birds.
Yeah.
I've hunted a lot of field birds, that sort of thing. You get a vast of all that kind of stuff, and I don't know, man. It just hits home. All this stuff just hits home. Turkey hunting is if somebody put a gun in my head and made me choose, it would be so difficult to choose because I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, I'd say just go ahead and probably put me down because I don't think I could
right.
do the other. But because it is so different as far as the way you chase them, the weather. But I'll be honest with you. I've killed a lot of turkey. I tag out almost every year, so we do really well. But we chase them hard, so I think the majority of my birds, like probably 85%, are all timber birds.
Yeah. Well, so, let's talk about Tennessee. Let's kind of underline that and focus on that for a second. But what kind of terrain and the farms that you're hunting? Kind of lay it all out. What hunting Tennessee is like for you?
Well, we hunt predominantly all private. Like we'll take the boat out every now and again and kind of fish and chase them, but we're hunting a lot of. I know where on all of our farms. I know where, unless we bump them or something, I know exactly within 15 yards of where they're going to roost. So some of my farms don't have the fields. The fields are on somebody else. So, all my chunks, we'll get in there and we'll try to cut them off on where we think they're going. Obviously, they'll fly down, get with different hens. So our stuff is mainly. There's a lot of ridges, bowls. They love to hang out on those bowls. I've had older birds literally circle the bowl all the way around, just peeking his head over, trying to see if he could, he busted us. But, we're timber guys here, and we really do. 90% of, I'd say 90, because unless we're just like crossing them and we see them in our fields, that's when we'll try to get on them, in a field. But I don't really like afternoons. Like, I don't like to hunt afternoons within like 100 yards of their roost. I
Just
know it
don't want
sounds
to put that
crazy, but
pressure.
I want them to be there when I come back in the morning. So I'd rather not risk sitting there and getting busted by 15, 20 hens coming in and just come back in the morning, because if we hunted there that morning, we knew where they're roosting. We know where they're going to go that night. So if I can strike one up and get him to work, we'll do it. But I try not to put any pressure on them as far as like where they roost.
Right, especially when you said that you basically know on most of your farms where they're going to roost. So
Yeah.
if you really were in a pinch, last day of season, or you're trying to get your buddy on one the last day of season or something like that, you could probably get it done in the afternoon, I'm sure.
Don't think I wouldn't cash that card in if it got down to the death. I
Right.
sure would. Like that's my Hail Mary, I think, is what I do. I'm also fortunate to where I have all my farms or my leases. It's just me on them, so I don't have to worry about somebody else pressuring the birds or bumping them while I'm not in there, unless it's a poacher or something like that. But I'll rotate
Right.
my farm. So like when you come in for opening weekend, we're going to hit two farms that's not been hunted in 3 years and 4 years. So these birds should, and I go in and I'll listen, each year, and we do work on the property as far as like strut zones and all that stuff. So I know they're all there, but these should be really good, like fresh birds. And then like the farm that I killed the big one on last year. I mean, I will go in if I'm not striking any birds up and I know they're there, but I do try to keep enough farms to just rotate. So, like, if me and you go in, kill Saturday, Sunday, that I'm going to skip that farm next year, or try to anyway. And I feel like that's really helped me. Once I started rotating, it's helped me be more successful because I'm giving them more of a break than, you know, some of these public land birds who will start out, point A, and then by the end of the season, they've been called at or shot at, and they're 15 miles from where they started at because of all the pressure.
Yeah. Talk about that work you were talking about, making strut zones and that sort of stuff. What kind of work do you put in on these farms for turkeys?
So before ducks even over, my mind's switching to turkey, and what we try to do is I know where all the birds roost, and we do food plots and stuff, and we'll feed when it's legal. So what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll say, okay, well this bird's roosting right here. Let's make a strut zone from this tree all the way to where he's going, for food. So we'll take off on a weekend. We'll go in and we'll start just sawzalls and chainsaws, and we'll cut a 10-foot wide road, and we'll just cut everything plumb to the food. And I started doing that about 3 years ago. And I don't know if you've ever done that. If the birds are in there, I've got camera footage of them just strutting it as hard as they can. And then also we'll put them all around the fields. So like if I have a 5-acre field, I'll have a full strut zone cut around that entire field, because later season those birds, if they have been pressured, they're not going to just come busting out in the field, or the grass is higher, right? And they obviously don't. The hens will nest in it. Those toms like to be seen. They like to strut, so they'll get on those strut zone roads and they'll just burn it up.
That's awesome. I've
Yeah,
never
so
really heard of anybody doing anything like that before, but I could see where it definitely work, especially for maybe some timber birds that don't have a lot of openness to where they're at to run around in. When they walk up on a big strut zone all the way down through the woods, they're probably burning it up.
oh, they do, and especially if you can get a really good one cut, like pretty good and wide. I mean, if you think about it, if you've ever been somewhere where a lot of four-wheelers ride, they'll get out there and they'll strut on those four-wheeler trails. Or if you're watching one come in, they'll get out of the woods, hit those trails, come up, and then they want to be seen, so they're going to be in the most wide open. You're not going to catch one like strutting straight through a thicket.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, we've had them pop up like that, but yeah, I try to do anything to make it as easy for transit for those turkeys. I try to keep them plenty of food as far as like clover. We keep one area. This is probably just overkill, but I keep one area just disked up. So like when it rains and stuff, those worms will come up, and dude, they burn that up.
Oh, I bet.
It's just like one row of it being disked, and all the big fields. We will go through and we'll mow, like Texas strip it. We'll keep it mowed in the center with high on the edges, and they stay on that. So anything that I can do to get the upper, hand, we'll also, like, when we cut those strut zones in, we'll take all that brush and we'll pile it up in strategic little areas. That way, it's not really a blind. But if you're coming in and you hear one fire up, we have spots throughout all the farms that you can just slip into pretty quick. So you're not, setting bare on a tree. So we try to really plan it out as we're cutting everything. Like, hey, I think a bird would like to hit this because it's, he coming off that high point coming down. He's going to be seen all the way down. They're so smart and they can see so well. So anything that you can do to help them feel more comfortable. And, you obviously don't do it the week before season, but.
Right. It sounds like you're doing it pretty well in advance for sure.
Yeah. And we just keep adding to it, and we'll maintain them. We'll spray them. I tried that throw and grow last year, and we done some pretty on the strut zones. We would do like every 15 feet, we'd rake leaves, strut zone, like, plant the throw and grow, then leave leaves, and then throw and grow. So we made a bag go like 600 yards just in little tufts, and the deer ate it before it really got good. But yeah, the turkey loved it. And then, we obviously plant a bunch of corn, and we leave standing corn and stuff like that. So they burn it up. But I seen them in the millet a lot this year. I guess they were chasing bugs.
Probably.
But we've got a lot of bearded hens around here too, which are legal to shoot. But all of our bearded hens have like pencil beards.
That's awesome. I've never seen one I've seen people that have had them mounted and stuff. I've never really seen one when I'm hunting. I've seen them like driving around, scouting, and that sort of thing. Never had the opportunity to kill a bearded hen or even be close to killing one.
Yeah, so when you come down, we have one. She nests right out beside the big barn every year. And we'll be going turkey hunting, and you'll see her. And we'll be coming back, you'll see her. And, she just breaks off, and she'll come down here and lay low. But she has you almost have to be looking for it because it's so thin. But I don't know how true this is, but my wildlife teacher told me back in high school that you really wanted to leave those hens because they tend to produce more testosterone, which in theory could throw more, male turkeys, and breeding. That could be completely bogus. I don't know. I've never looked into it. I just like to think that's
I mean, I'd have to almost ask them, look into that. But what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah, but it's weird because, like, if you come down here, like, we kill a lot of double beards. We kill a lot of turkey with the barred fans, like I showed you with the white. And we got a few bearded hens, so it's pretty neat to see all that wild mix come into play.
Yeah, especially in just a small area like that to have, more than one oddity into that. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. And our birds, I mean, a good bird will range from 18. We've cut them all the way up to 24, 25 pounds. So, you're getting some pretty good sized birds down here.
Yeah, those are some big birds. It seems like that birds I've killed here in Indiana, I mean, even that one I killed had like a 12-inch beard, 1.125 spurs or something like that. Pretty decent bird. But he only weighed like 17 pounds.
He's probably been chasing them hens hard.
Well, that too. That happens to the best of us. But like Kentucky, even the Michigan bird, and definitely the West Virginia birds that I was a part of last year, 23 pounds. Yeah. I think one of the ones we killed in Kentucky one year was 24, 25. But I mean, that's a big boy.
Yeah, and I get pumped up if it's an 8-inch beard. If it comes out and drops, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't care. And I'll get pumped up. We had a Super Jake come in hot last year or the year before last, and that bird was gobbling. He was fired up. He come in with hens and everything, and me and my buddy was like, "What the heck?" He had a full fan and he had a full gobble. So I don't know what was up with that. And he had about a 4-inch beard on him, and we didn't shoot him. We was like, he'll be good. But it's just crazy to see like how. And they say, I don't know. We'll see if they say like a group of Jakes will run off a Tom.
Yeah. I mean, he's overpowered. He's got 5 people beating him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've actually seen that before when I'm hunting. I don't know how often that occurs, but I have seen it. I mean, he tried to defend himself. What happened was I was sitting in a cow pasture or a horse pasture in Kentucky And I was actually getting ready to make a move, happened to look up and saw a couple turkeys come through this gap in this fence. So I sat down, got the binoculars out. They were quite a ways off, but I knew they were working their way back to me because I was close to the roost. It was an evening hunt, and I'm like, they got to be coming back this way sometime. And 27 birds end up coming through the fence, and I'm watching them the whole time. And the very back bird was a strutter, and they made their way across this field. And then the jakes, there was probably, I don't know, 4, maybe 3 or 4 of them, 5 of them, and they ganged up on him, and they pushed him out the back. And I tried like hell to call that bird because they kind of went to my right, and I was trying to just pull him up the ridge to me. I don't know if he was just heartbroken that a bunch of little boys just put the whooping on him, but he ended up roosting very, very close with the rest of the birds, and I actually killed a tom the next morning. I don't know if it was him or not, but he was in the same group as him.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've seen it. Obviously, if you shoot one and a group comes in, they'll
right
whoop up on him. Do you run decoys a lot?
It's all situational to me. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If we're gonna go, set up on a spot, and I don't really know where I'm going or what I'm getting into, I'll bring it. Maybe not necessarily put it out. If I hear him gobble and it's just a couple of gobbles here and there, but I can still hear the hens, I might be like, hold my gun for a second, and I'll crawl out there and stick it out in the ground. Or the last couple of years, I've had a lot of success putting the jake, the 3/4 strut jake, with the hen. I used to run the pretty boy, pretty girl back in the day, where she sat on the ground and basically it looked like he was getting ready to breed her. And I've seen a lot of birds react to that. And if I don't feel like bringing a decoy, I don't. It's not a huge deal to me, but it's fun either way. But I've had a lot of success with decoys and without decoys.
Yeah, we've had more without, just because we'll hit spots, and then if we fire one up, it's normally we just sit down and try to get them in there. But I've killed them over decoys. It's fun too, especially when you have that extra time to like enjoy it. Last year, in the past couple of years, I've learned to don't worry about the gobbler if he's with hens. Cut that hen off every time you can.
Piss her off.
Yeah, because my buddy Ben, he'd only ever killed one turkey, and they had pretty much deer hunted it. And so I took him 2 years ago, and he killed a big one. And like it was one of those afternoon hunts where they were fired up, opening day, come straight in. Then last year, I was like, we've hunted 2 years this will be the second year in a row. We can't not kill one, So I was like, let's go to this spot. And we went, and when we were pulling in, we seen him down there with 2 hens. And he was like, oh, man, because he's new to – he's like, what's the odds of that? And I'm like, oh, we'll get him. So when we got up there, we got set up. And I called, and then she would call. And then I wouldn't call, she would fire up. So I just cut her off. Then I'd quit. Like I wouldn't even finish the sequence. I just cut her off. Then she would – and, dude, it wasn't 10 minutes. Here she come. And he was like, well, he's not with her. And I was like, oh, just wait. So she's probably 15 yards in front of the tom there. He comes around the corner full strut. I had handed him my A5, and I didn't even have a gun. And, dude, he was following her all the way up. And then what screwed us is that other hen had come around and dropped off the valley, and she started purring and clucking and all kinds of stuff. So he turned. So the hens were kind of sitting right out in the middle of a field, like up against a tree. And I was like, oh, man, you're going to have to take your shot. And he's like, it's a little far. I think it was like 55. I mean, it was a poke, but she was on top of us, and she was fixing to bust us. And, dude, he squeezed off, and he rolled that thing. And when we were like, whoa, we get all pumped up, and we get up, and the bird, like, gets up, and I'm like, oh, man, we're going to have to shoot him again. And he just fell over. And I was like, oh, man, thank goodness he didn't take off on us, because we didn't even run down with the gun. So we'd had to run up, get the gun, and like chase him down. But, yeah, dude, I've learned that, like, just patience. If you think he's not coming in, just give it a minute. Maybe spin around, because he's probably going to circle you like a big buck does, and they'll come in. Watch for, like, if I have a bird gobbling and there's a thicket, like a 10-yard thicket right here, get around the thicket, like, or back up from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of times, like, if I have a bird that, quote unquote, hangs up, I'll bounce around where I'm sitting 10, 15 yards. I'll shoot to the right, I'll shoot to the left, and then I'll kind of walk back, make it seem like I'm moving. and that pulls them in a lot of times because they're like, I can't lose her. I better go get her. So over the years, man, I've just learned to really play around with it, but stick where you're at because he's probably going to come in.
Yeah, I've pulled the old, when I feel like a bird's hanging up, I pull the old, raking the leaves beside me, if it sound like they're scratching kind of thing. I've done that, and kind of go back on the decoy talk and the similar talk. I think maybe the time of the year, time of the period of your season. At the beginning of your season to the end of your season, those tactics are going to vastly change in a matter of just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, really, in a weekend they can change depending on the pressure. But
for sure,
well, our season used to open on Easter, so juvenile was the weekend before. So like late March, they moved it back 2 weeks. So we're the week after Easter now. And man, I had to sit here and listen to these birds gobble. And it was like perfect weather, right? So it was like low 70s. Then it was getting into like the 50s at night. So it was just perfect. Like these birds are going to be done. And then luckily, like we caught the best weekend. But if we could have been out there a weekend earlier, man, it'd have been carnage because they were fired up. And then of course, opening day it always gets cold or you always get some sort of curveball thrown at you. But we
hopefully not this year.
No, I'm so excited to have you down because I've got the whole weekend planned out. I'm like, and oh man, it's gonna be good.
Oh, I can't wait, man. I've never hunted Tennessee for anything. Anything. I've fished Tennessee many times, but I've never hunted there. I'm excited to come down and add something new to my turkey tour, add something new that I've never done. Obviously, I've chased Easterns my whole life, but just like we've talked before, you having the timber birds, I really don't have that much. Even living in Indiana, you would think I'd have that.
Right.
Most of the birds that I've chased wild turkey hunting, it's basically all field birds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we might get on some field birds here. I'm not going to say it won't happen. But even the big field behind the house, I set 10 yards off of it on the strut zones where I can see the field, but the ones we killed, I mean, they're coming down the strut zone. So we're really tuned in with it. And then, like, when you're down and we're turkey hunting, we'll be like, all right, this is a tree I'm putting you in when you come back down for velvet. And this is where they're going to come through. So I'm not even just thinking about turkey hunt when I'm turkey hunting. I'm looking for sheds. I'm looking for
mushrooms,
morels, everything. Yeah, and we do get on a bunch of those morels.
Oh yeah, if we do that, we're gonna have a hell of a fry up with some turkey, with some morels, maybe some fish to go in there with it.
Yeah, and I know some boys who they'll crappie fish, and then if they hear a bird, because we've got so much public land that runs along the lake, that they'll just crappie fish until they hear one fire up, and then they'll park the boat and take off after it.
That's awesome. I would love to do something like that. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And they do pretty well. That they'll kill a bird, so it's pretty neat to see how everybody pans out. But they do a lot around here. I know in some areas turkey hunting or deer hunting or whatever, it gets so competitive in like an ill manner. But around here, man, everybody's pumped up. Everybody's doing their own thing, and they do like turkey rodeos where you do a team and you see who can kill the biggest bird, and you have a certain check-in, and they do all kinds of fun stuff. And like you can go down to the gas station. Like if we kill one, we'll go get us a monster or more beer for the cooler, and
right.
They'll get tailgates down with just birds or deer. Like it's pretty cool around here as far as that. But yeah, so I don't think season could get here soon enough.
Right.
I'm dying. And I've got I got batteries in all the cameras. I've got them out, and I'm looking forward to starting to get the pictures because me and the little ones was riding around this morning, and man, they were strutting in the field. And I'm like, not yet, guys. Just hold off a little bit longer.
Settle down there, bud.
It was 65 degrees here with the rain moving in, so they were feeling good. So they were gobbling. They were fired up. But I mean, we got a month.
Right. What about traditions? Do any of you and your buddies or you and your family members have any traditions? I know you got some kind of shirt you wear on opening day, right?
Yeah, I do. I've got a Haley. I call it my lucky shirt. Haley hates it. My fiance. I'll put it on and she'll literally roll her eyes. I've worn that for 3 openers in a row, and we've killed birds killed 2 Me and Ben's both killed a bird on opening day every time I've had that shirt on. And then the season before, I shot one. But being honest with you, I hunt with like 2 people here that consistently show up and help me as far as like working on the farms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, big deer hunter. I got him into deer hunting and duck hunting, but he just never got into turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben, he'll turkey hunt once or twice, and then it gets hot and he's a big wakeboarder, so he's on the lake. So it's really just me. And then last year, my daughter was finally old enough to kind of go. So I killed a bird with her. That was pretty cool. I sent you that video. Like I had 5 toms in front of me, or 4 or 5. I don't even remember. But she was just sitting in the blind playing. Like, noise than the turkeys were, and they had no clue.
That's awesome, man. I got a buddy similar to what you were talking about. Your buddy just deer hunting. I got a buddy Randy. He kind of makes fun of us. Like we get pumped up and send pictures when we have a little group chat. And he'll be like, I don't know why you guys are traveling to other states just to shoot a freaking bird. You know what I mean?
You go chase one time and get him fired up and get it that close, and then something goes wrong or he busts you. I think that's really what keeps everybody going back, because it's like, I've been beat. Because it's a chess game.
Oh, for
it's
sure.
It's outsmart, and with deer sometimes it's just you're just beating the wind, or you've patterned them so they're coming through, right? Or that they're in this area so you can catch them kind of cruising, and you have more range if you're using a muzzleloader or a gun. So to get a turkey, I call it the ultimate catfishing. Like if you can get a big tom to actually commit and get in shotgun range and you close it, I've had him do it and I'm like, dang, that was such a smart bird. Then I've had him do it and I'm like, how did that just happen?
Right.
That bird was not thinking correctly because he gave it up way too easy. But man, I think it's just like a deer in the rut. They've got one thing on their mind and that's what they're after. So
for sure. If a sound of an eastern hardwoods gobble does not get you shaking like a I don't know what a crackhead. If you're not shaking like something's wrong with you, it's not for you. Because whenever that first one fires off, especially if they're close, like right as they're, I shot one of my last birds in Kentucky that I killed. I wanted him to come out of full strut. I didn't want to shoot him in full strut because he was at 25 yards.
Yeah.
And I just put a couple of little notes out there on my mouth call, and as soon as he gobbled, I blew his brains out.
Yeah.
And it's just something about that gobble that close. I mean, it'll just make you shake like a leaf, man.
That, and if you could bottle the feeling of it's gotten quiet, you was working the bird, and then all of a sudden, boom. Yeah. Like you just start spitting out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, he's close enough to bust me. I can't move, but you have to. It's such a. Or when, like, I took a kid, and to get a kid pumped up about it who's not really interested in it, or it has no clue what's supposed to happen, it's kind of harder to get them into it because they think that they're just going to gobble and that's normal or whatever. So I took this kid, and we had birds working, and we left. I had lunch, and I took him back, and called a couple times, nothing, and then out of nowhere, this calm. I mean, dude, it sounded like he had a cam installed.
Right.
He just, the leaves moved when he gobbled, and he was like 50 yards from us, right over a little knob, and that little boy looked at me, and his eyes were,
Right.
He was like, oh. He started shaking, and I was like, yeah, he's hooked now, and man, the gun was moving like this, and he had the 410, and I was trying to help him, and he was just like, oh, I don't know. He said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I was like, you aren't having a heart attack. I was like, just be quiet. And the bird, obviously he busted us and we was walking out. He's like, shoo. He said, I don't know if I could do that again. And I was like, you definitely can. I was like, it comes, but I get more pumped up now to watch somebody else get excited about a bird. Yeah. I love working them. I love calling them in, but to see somebody else pull the trigger and like get pumped up like that, man, you can't sell that.
No, I feel like sometimes when I'm looking down, I don't use a red dot on the 500. I just have like the little bead at the end, and it's white on my gun. I feel like sometimes when am so focused on that bird, and just I get tunnel vision, and my vision almost goes blurry because I'm just so trying not to mess it up, and I'm getting ready to put the bead on him and pull the trigger. It's just like almost like you could black out at any second. I feel like
I honestly don't. Any deer that I've ever shot, any turkey, ducks, I never really remember like. You know, I don't remember the point where I'm like, this is it, because my adrenaline dumps. I'm like, all right, good.
Yeah.
But man, I tell you, when I was a Mossberg 500 guy, you know, and then I started duck hunting, and obviously I switched over to an automatic, and I never went back to a pump. So I've not hunted with that 500 in a long time, but man, I've smacked some turkey at some distance with that gun. Did you shoot 3? I mean, I'm talking, you know, maybe 1 or 2 shots I probably shouldn't have. But I did, and it killed them.
Well, hopefully we can maybe we can pull some doubles with 500s the first morning. That would be epic.
I've got the 410 too, so if we bust them with the Mossbergs, then you can switch it up and shoot with a 410.
I'd gladly shoot one with the 410 just to say I did it, really. I think it'd be, like I said, I'd like to shoot one with just about everything just to switch it up. You know what I mean? Especially
with the 410 and you're making your way through the woods and it feels like you don't have anything that you're lugging around, you'll be like, where's the closest gun store? We're going to get one.
Right.
Dude, it's crazy. Or like, you know, in those moments where the bird's coming in and you're having to like stay like this, the weight difference is just, man, it's crazy. And you don't think that would make a big difference, but it makes a big difference.
That's why I like wearing that knee. I have like a knee pad that I wear.
That button's on the bottom.
It's got
the foam V on the top.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I will never not turkey hunt. I've had that same one since when I first started turkey hunting.
Me too. It's old school, like the army camo.
I think mine's Realtree, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It might be a different brand or something, but
since before Walmart's had super Walmarts.
Right.
Old. Yeah, I keep that with me. I run the Drake or the Old Tom vest, the Gunslinger. And, dude, the only thing in my vest is shells and mouth calls.
Well, that was getting ready to be one of my next questions. Let's do some vest talk. So you run nothing but mouth calls. Is there a certain company that you like on mouth calls?
Woodhaven.
Woodhaven.
Yeah, Woodhaven's the only call. And I'll buy a new one each year. Like, I just run a brand new one each year because they're inexpensive. And I'll buy a different one each year. So, like, I'll have all my other ones in here that if I can't or if I feel like it's, you know, superstitious, something like that, I'll switch up. But I run Woodhaven. I don't even hoot tubes or nothing like that. I just do it with my mouth. So we fire them up. But, yeah, my vest is pretty light. The Gunslinger, though, is so comfortable. It's got the spine pad, the big cushion, and then a couple 3.5-inch shells or 4-inch shells, depending on what I'm hunting. And sometimes I run a decoy. I'll be honest, a lot of times I get so excited to get in there, I forget the decoy in the bed of the truck or on my side. So,
the first day I'll have to give you. Well, before the first day, when I get there on Friday and we meet up, I'm gonna have to give you the rundown on this camera because I'm gonna put it between your legs on opening morning.
Absolutely, yeah, that's our. I'm going to do my best to scout and have everything ready to roll, but my goal is to get you down here, have one down, and then us chase me one, and then the next morning rinse and repeat. So
absolutely.
I'm hoping to have you tagged out before you leave.
I'm not even worried about it, buddy. I'm just ready to come down and hunt turkeys with you, whether we kill one or not. It doesn't matter to me. I have fun just chasing them.
We're going to have a blast, that's for sure, because we're going to bounce around. You're going to know these back roads like it's your hometown.
Yeah, I like that. I like cruising back roads.
Well, see, all the farms are somewhat close to each other. They're all 15, 20 minutes. So, man, if we don't get one goblin, we're in the truck. We're driving to the next farm, and we just – all day long, we'll get on a bird. That's for sure.
That's awesome. When I picture that, I don't know why this may be the stupidest thing to ever come out of my mouth, but chasing Tennessee gobblers on back roads, for some reason I picture you driving like a little Toyota Tacoma for some reason, which would be a badass little turkey truck. You know what I mean?
We've done it, you know. But yeah, man, I tell you what, growing up, people are like, well, you got a lot of spots to hunt. But if I see a bird strutting in the field, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask. And
There
then
you go.
I'll build that reputation. So hey, you won't let me hunt this year, that's fine. I'm gonna stop by next year. I'm gonna ask again. And then
That's awesome.
but in a friendly way. And I've had farms that I've asked 4 years in a row that I've been told no, that they don't let anybody hunt. And then they're like, take off, he's out there, go get him. And I've got farms like that somehow. But it's just like, if you stop and you put it in, and by the time you ask again, they almost feel like they know you on a personal level than just some creep
Right.
driving by,
Right.
trying to chase a turkey.
That's awesome. Obviously, you're a mossy oak bottomland when it comes to your camo pattern, right?
Yeah, I bottom land everything.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Underwear
Me
even.
too. Oh, that's awesome. So a question I've been asking people. Well, you're my second Spring Thunder episode for the year, but it's kind of going to be a reoccurring question that I'm going to ask some people. But tips for beginner turkey hunters. Say they've never turkey hunted before, or they got 1 year or something
Yeah,
under their belt. What's some tips that you could throw their way?
I would say call less than what you think you need to call. Less is more sometimes with turkey, especially uh, if you're starting out. You're probably not sounding the best, so just little sequences, less, and don't sleep on the 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock window. That's some of the best time to hunt. Make sure you're out there, and just concealment. Make sure you're not sitting right out in the open on a tree. Don't be afraid to get 5 or 6 feet into some sort of fence row that's kind of grown up, or put yourself in a position to where you can, if you were walking through, would you see yourself? That's the way I look at it. Like, if I was walking through here and I just was browsing around, would I bust? Like, would I see myself? So then subconsciously you're starting to find, and I think if you can get with somebody who knows, that's been around a little bit, and you start building those good techniques, it's going to save you a lot of heartbreak, because I have been busted because I didn't have a good setup. I've been
Mhm.
busted because I called and they were right there. Um, and I've probably missed a lot of birds because I thought it was too hot, or, these birds were hung up or tied up with hens, when in reality, we've got a lot of birds, 12 o'clock to 4, because all the hens are on nest. So it's just kind of like you said, the more you do it, the more you learn. But patience is the main thing, I think. Just like take your time setting up, take your time calling. And if you think you need to get up and leave because he's not gobbling, give it 30 minutes. He's probably a lot
Right.
closer than you think.
I think I've killed the most birds throughout my turkey hunting experiences, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. 9:30, 10 o'clock has been like a very hot window, just like I was talking about with Seth on the last episode. If they're not hot off the roost, I'm not hot. I'm not gonna play that game. I'm gonna
Yeah,
wait till things play out. I'm gonna see how feel the situation out. Say he gets away from them hens, and you hear him bust off one time, or you hear, like you said, if you hear some hens, talk back to them. You
yeah,
don't know. You could call the hens in, and they got 5 gobblers with them.
yep.
And they didn't gobble the whole time. You just didn't know they weren't hot that day.
Yeah, we do that. We'll call it old Buicking. Like, hey, we're gonna start out slow this morning, like an old Buick. Like, just give us time to warm up, because, man, I've watched birds gobble like crazy on roofs, fly down into a field. We're in the woods. They gobble like crazy. They're with hens. Then the hens leave, give them no attention. They turn around and they beeline straight to us.
Yep.
Boom. I mean, it's just like, if you can just wait it out. But it is hard when you've got one fired up. He's gobbling. He sounds like he's covering ground on you. Then all of a sudden he goes quiet, or you can hear him getting further away. And it's just like, I'll tell you something else I've learned, that, like, with just patience, is if a bird is facing you, how much louder that gobble
Yeah.
versus
That
if
ain't
he's
no
facing
shit.
the other way.
Yeah.
Because we was working the bird, and I was like, oh, he's coming. Oh man, he's going the other way now. But in reality, he was just spitting, drumming, spinning, strutting, and he was coming in. He was just giving us different gobble angles. And man, it's just, there's so many hunts that I've been on that I could just talk turkey all day. I could
Me
listen
too.
to people talk turkey all day, and I love just. I'm so excited to have you down, man. We've
I
got,
appreciate it.
and if you like, you're gonna come down and you're gonna be like, all right, what you doing this weekend? Because I'm coming back.
Right. I'm coming back next. Well, I couldn't do the next weekend because I'll be in West Virginia. But if maybe, I mean, I don't know. How long does turkey season last in Tennessee?
For us, it should last 2 hunts.
Right.
But no, I think it ends in starts like the second weekend of March, I believe,
You mean May?
or May. Yeah,
I
May.
got you. Well, if I have a tag left, it's probably not going to be very hard to convince my wife to come to Tennessee again. Or
We've
I
got
might.
stuff so close too, man. You can just
Right. Yeah, we're actually she may have already done it, but there was I think it's a tiny house, Airbnb,
Mhm.
close to where you're at. We had your address and location, and we went off of that. And I believe that she booked the tiny home close
Oh,
to you, and
sweet,
it looked
yeah.
really nice.
Is it like the interior white?
I think so. Yeah, she showed me
Yeah.
some pictures that looked really nice, which isn't going to matter because I'm not going to be there
Right.
hardly
Yeah.
at all. She's really not going to be there that much either because they're going to go, sightseeing and go do some stuff and have fun while I'm busting some birds up with you.
It's gonna be so much fun. And then I've got, we talked about that one kind of little celebrity style hunt. I've got it in the works.
Uh-oh.
So he's 100% down to come, and I think it's going to be later in April. So maybe we can line it up to where you can come down. That'd be great for the YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. And the person he's talking about, if you've seen any viral videos on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, it's the guy in a blue shirt that dances. I don't even remember like what kind of dance. It's like folk dancing, right? Kind of like
Yeah, he's been on like ESPN, man, and I've talked to him quite a bit, and super nice guy. But he's like, I'll come get on a bird. I'm like, well, come on, like we'll get you on a bird. So I think if we could get him a bird on camera, throw it up on the YouTube, man, we'll have him clog. We'll have to all learn the clog. That way, if we get one.
Oh, that would be like a really cool video. I think I was telling the wife about that last night, and she was like, "Well, if you guys kill one, you guys could all do the dance." I'm like, I don't know how coordinated I'm going to be at dancing like that, but I'll give her a shot.
Yeah, I don't think my ankles would hold up, man.
No.
Roll off. But yeah, I've got that in the works. I've got, I've got some other things that I'm pretty sure, as far as trip wise, that I can take somebody. So if you got a free weekend, we'll go even further south.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
Well, buddy, it's been a blast to have you on. I like this episode because we really didn't slam a bunch of these topics as they go in a lot of detail. We told a lot of our experiences, gave some tips and some stuff for beginners and that kind of stuff too. I really like the way this episode played out compared to really smashing all these different topics. We kind of just bullshitted for an hour about turkey hunting and how we do things, and I really like that.
Yeah, dude, I got a lifetime of just bullshitting about hunting as a job.
All right. Well, man, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody in podcast land listening to this. And if you're on the YouTube, thank you for sticking around and listening to our stuff. But hey, tell everybody where they can find you at on your socials, man.
D Albright 7 across the board. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I post all my hunting stuff. TikTok's I don't really post much hunting on TikTok just because you get, hit for it so hard. They pull stuff down. So the TikTok's more outdoor dad stuff, but it's always entertaining.
Absolutely. We'll go check Dylan out on his socials and whatnot, but we'll be back next week for episode 77. Not sure the guest yet, haven't lined it up yet, but we'll find one and we'll have a blast doing it. You guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you back here again next week.